today we welcome our colleague David Kennedy from Political Science and also the director of the Honors Program. David has been working in honors ever since the college has been open. So thank you for putting this together, David. David has put together a panel. So I'll let you introduce the interdisciplinary panel, David, and just turn it over to you.
Sure. Professor Mark Whitten, philosophy. Professor Karen Buckman, psychology. And Dana Morales over there, government. You're getting drafted because you're here. And,
can you say conscript?
She's doing the Clint Eastwood.
That's right. Oh, God.
Talk to the chair.
Yeah, shamelessly grabbed over. Go ahead and start. Well, this is probably long overdue, but what I wanted to do is use this forum as an opportunity to launch a discussion on why honors across the campus. It's pretty timely. I've been director of the honors program for a year now, and I won't say I have a clue what I'm doing yet, but I'm trying to get there. Our honors program over the years has been somewhat of a variable star, if you will. You know, it's kind of expanded and contracted. In part, that is going to be a product of different classes of students, you know, different years and just the vagaries of the environment. But we have reached a different level, if you will, in terms of size. We're a pretty large institution now. And we're going on 14,000 students?
Well, I think we're over 13,000 right now, so yeah. Well,
okay.
14,000 won't be too long down the road.
And more importantly, if you look system-wide, you know, we're a pretty considerable sized institution. And so I wanted to throw out some general stats to you that you may or may not be aware of regarding honors in general. I've also handed out a sample list of some of the contracts that we had submitted for this semester so that you can kind of get an idea of some of the questions that students are asking. And I'd like to use that maybe to kind of facilitate a dialogue, especially among faculty that have done honors contracts, about what they see as the strengths as well as the potential weaknesses in our current honors program and how we might move forward from here. This is a good time to be talking about honors, what honors means, because the system is currently in the process of looking at creating an honors college, a system-wide honors college. What that will look like is yet to be determined, but we do know that we started bumping up against the wall. All the honors directors for the different campuses for the last year, and even before that, have been working actively on trying to make the experience more consistent for our students across campuses, because we know we have a lot of students that take classes on multiple campuses, and unfortunately they've had a lot of different hoops to jump through depending on which campus they're doing a particular honors contract with. So there has been a lack of consistency across the system. More importantly, we've never had an honors experience for students. So we've never we've tried to recruit students as freshmen, but we've never had a freshman class, honors class of students that have gone through a program, if you will, that is somewhat structured and at the end of which they can feel like they've gained a certain basic set of skills that can help them as they move forward. And if we look at how our system has cobbled together resources for our honors program, it's really somewhat of an embarrassment. It's nobody's fault. But if we compare ourselves to some of the other flagship institutions nationwide that are our size or larger, we are woefully behind at the moment. The gold standard, if you will, of honors colleges for community colleges would probably be the Miami-Dade model. If you're not familiar with Miami-Dade, they claim to be the largest community college in the country. There's some question of that, but there are about 170,000 students serving the greater Miami area. And they have an honors college that services roughly 400 students, and that has a budget that well exceeds $3 million. They have just an incredible leadership development program where they take a lot of their student population as first-generation college students, and they put them through everything from etiquette training, which actually is very important. They're going to some of these impressive venues. These kids have never seen two forks, or no proper etiquette in a social setting. And so to some just outstanding leadership opportunities, and then some great plug-ins to some flagship universities, both in the Washington area and the New York area and then nationwide. And so they've had a lot of success with their program. They spend an awful lot of money on the program. It's highly competitive for students to get in. They're fully funded once they get in, plus they even receive a stipend. The other end of the continuum is our system currently. We're trying to figure it out, the honors directors today, because there's actually a task force meeting for this honors college going on as we speak. It's probably between $50,000 and $55,000 spent system-wide on honors. Now I want you to put that in context, because we know that the system spends an enormous amount of resources on developmental. That's becoming a growing problem, not just in our system, but nationwide. And rightly so. What has been troubling is that there's been a lack of focus on the other end of the continuum, and that is our high-achieving students, our students that, for whatever reason, have chosen us as their college of first choice that they're attending. And I think we have outstanding programs, outstanding individual classes, outstanding opportunities that students can take advantage of. But what we lack is a programmatic approach to moving these students through a set of basic building blocks so that they can succeed when they get out. And we certainly lack a consistent funding formula for trying to bring students in, recruit students in. And so those are some of the things that I'd like to kind of keep in your brain as we're talking about honors. I will tell you this, I've been the busiest I've ever been being honors director, but I've been busy in a lot of things before, and I will say that nothing else I've done has been as rewarding in terms of being able to work one-on-one with students, even y'all students, on occasion, but being able to see the work they do, being able to see them present in conferences, being able to see them connect the dots, starting to think out of the box. It's gratifying. It's why we're all in teaching, right? And so the interesting thing to me is that honors should be as invigorating, as rewarding, and as desirable for faculty as it is for students, because it gives you such a breath of fresh air to be able to do things that you might not ordinarily be able to do in the classroom. And yet I'm finding myself pushing a hard sell. So hence the question, why honors? I think we've reached a point to where people, I was talking with Marva before the session, and all of us are burning the candle at both ends. Our students are doing the same. They look at honors and they see it as one more additional responsibility, and they're saying, why in the world would I want to add something extra onto my plate when I've got so much on my plate already? So somehow I think we have to shift the debate toward, you want to do more work than participate in honors, to do you want a different kind of experience while you're at the community college than participate in honors? So with that, I'd like to ask maybe if my colleagues could share some of their experiences in working with honor students, because they have extensive experience. Mark, you want to start?
Well, I was jotting down some of the reasons why I'm an honors mentor. And one of the first reasons that I am involved and that I find rewarding is that, quite honestly, I find that when a student wants to do an honors project in one of my classes, this is an affirmation not only of my subject matter, but it's an affirmation of me. And I'm insecure enough, I like affirmations of me. So when the student or students say, I would like to do an honors project perhaps in philosophy, I'm thinking, okay. And then when they want to do one with me, I enjoy that. I do see it, secondly, as an opportunity that I can provide, that we provide, for our students to grow intellectually. an additional step beyond the growth we hope that takes place in our courses and in the regular subject matter. And certainly the joy, the reward is at the end of the semester to see that that has taken place. Thirdly, and I do tell my students this, it's an opportunity for that student to accomplish something. And that when they've accomplished the project and they get credit for an honors course, not only do they have the satisfaction of having done their best, but they also have credit for an honors course, which can't hurt and can't help when it comes to transferring to another institution. I also find, number 4, that I invariably learn something from the students. And I learn something from their project. Even if it's a subject of which I'm already familiar, I will either be reminded or learn something new about that subject. And then some students pick subjects I don't know much about at all. I do recall that I had one student 3 years ago, and the subject was the ethics of Wicca. Well, what I know about Wicca and the ethics of Wicca could be written on my thumbnail. But I learned more about it, and I learned to make important distinctions and to perhaps overcome some personal stereotypes and biases. So I do find in the project, in the conversation with the students, that it's an opportunity for me to grow. It's an opportunity for me to learn. It's not just a one-way street. And certainly in the context, you have the opportunity to develop a personal relationship with students. Again, in the comings and goings, sometimes the best you can do is to know a name in the class, perhaps a few that ask questions, talk to you at the end of the class, beginning of class, you know a little bit more about, but a student that you're meeting every other week, a student that you're intimately involved in this project, you have the opportunity for establishing a deeper personal relationship, even a friendship between yourself and that student. Since I've been doing honors, I've had anywhere from 7 students in one semester to no students in a semester. I have 3 this semester. But those the semesters in which I've had none, and there have been a few like that, honestly I felt like something was missing. Not having an honors student, not being engaged with that student in an honors project. So it adds to my own experience of being a professor and being involved with the student. I wish that more of our colleagues could see the potential of how it benefits you as an instructor being involved in the honors program, because it does have rewards not only for the student but for us.
Okay.
Passing.
Yeah, passing by. I believe in honors. I was an honors student in my college. I was at a liberal arts college, and they had a 2-year honors program that you wrote this big paper. It was an undergraduate thesis. And the junior year you research. Remember microfish? Microfish. I did microfish. I ran out of books at my college and had to go to University of Missouri to look. So my undergraduate thesis was very helpful as I worked on my dissertation. And so I really liked that part of it. That whole learning about research and working with the committee, that kind of process really helped me. I was hoping that we could continue something that I did at Tulsa Community College and Roger University. I was in Oklahoma, and they had lots of honors classes. And I was able to teach a sociology class and a psych class. They didn't have any trouble getting people in the classes, and we do. I don't know why, that grade point average, I don't know, or the recruiting or something. But it is so exciting to teach a class of honors students, because I could make that step up that you don't have to focus just on test scores, that you could actually give them assignments that they were eager to do, and that step up, I love that step up in honors, and I really wish we could do more honors classes, because it is like teaching an accelerated group. They're eager to be there, and I really like that. And I've had mixed success here with, I can't believe you did 7 one semester, that's a lot. I've had some really good students, and I've had some really weaker students. The one I remember was a very good student, and she wanted to do dreams. And we spent at least 2 hours telling her why she couldn't do and how to analyze dreams, because it really wasn't good research. And so then the next hour we spent, the next week, on Suda somewhat topic on dreams. She wouldn't budge from dreams. So we did theories of dreams, and it still wasn't a good paper. So I was very frustrated. The good student that I really couldn't influence to do, I thought, an acceptable topic. But last year, I had the dream of a lifetime for a faculty member. I had a student who was autistic, and when I had him in general psychology, he came up to me and said, I can't do groups, I can't talk in public. And this young man has really bloomed. You know who I'm talking about. He has really bloomed, and he did an honors project for me last year using philosophy and psychology. That was a joy. Although we did change the focus. He came in a couple of weeks, and I'm talking, I said, no, this isn't working. We have to change, and we changed theorists. And he did original research, and this paper is graduate level. It's an awesome paper. He compared two different, a philosopher and a psychologist, and it's an awesome paper, and it was just made my heart beat faster just to read it. And he's just really bloomed and blossomed, and I really give a lot of credit of it from his confidence built up in the honors program. I mean, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, he was it was a joy to work with him. One of the issues I find is the 5-semester thing. And as you all know, they have to have 5 semesters. I know David is telling me that we're trying to do some service learning, but I think that's an issue that we need to address. Students are here really 4 semesters, and the 5th one, or 5th project, however they do it, and I hope you'll talk about that. Because you were telling me the other day you're trying to change that, okay?
Okay. 5 semesters?
Well, you know how they have to have credits, 5 like you told me they could do service learning.
Yes.
Which we need to publicize that more, because
yes.
I think the students, I know I called Angel and said, you don't have to do 5, you can do some service learning. And so I think that's something we can address.
Yes, 5.
What can I speak to this real quick?
Please do, because it's changed.
If a student wants to graduate with honors, then there's 3 different designations or levels that they can graduate at. The bottom level, the base level, is what we call just an honors graduate, and it's if you have 15 honors credit hours.
So they'd take 5
So that's
classes,
what she's talking about, 5 3-credit hour classes.
But they could do 1 now, you're thinking, as a service
well,
learning?
the other 2 tiers, the middle tier is called an honor scholar, and that requires only 9 honors credit hours and then 25 hours of community service. And then the top tier honors scholar with distinction is having 15 honors credit hours with 25 hours
And the
of community
service
service.
focus.
So yes, it has been important getting the word out on that. It's pushed students into service learning, which has been great. Our student HSO, which was just reconstituted this semester, is engaged in a peer mentoring program with the Extended Learning Center. And Deirdre Coots, who's the interim director there, is all gaga about working with those students. And we've had probably, it's not a huge number, but we've probably had about 7 students that have signed up to do the peer mentoring. And they're going through the training, and then they'll do peer mentoring in their various subject areas. So, and notedly, I think at least 2 of those are math, which apparently is in desperate need. So yes, when I stepped into this role, the service learning component to me is real important as far as an overall part of your honors experience.
And I'm glad that we have some administration, because I hope we can promote more honors classes, because it does take special, my Molly can tell you, advisement. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I mean, it's a joy to teach honors classes. So. Passing the ball. Well, I thought David said you were on.
Well, poor Dana wasn't on the original panel. But she's been on the, she's been a director, she's been on the council forever. So.
I've been on the council for 12 years. And Ron has been on forever. Rachel's on. I mean, we have several honors people here, and I was the director and co-director. And I can say, with that experience, that I don't think there's ever been a better time to get involved in honors. Not only because David's it's not going to toot his own horn, but we have a very visionary director in place right now, and also because the system, the administration right now is very focused on honors. And is willing to put some money up and talk about things like system-wide honors college and things like that. So, as you know, when I was director several years ago, there was not that kind of cohesiveness at the system level. Every college was on a different page in terms of honors, and that's still probably the case today to some point. But the direction is more towards a centralized, organized, well-funded, or better funded than before, real efforts to make our honors program something that we can really be proud of. And I've always been proud, of course, but I think that, we always want to strive to make it better. And so in answer to the question, why honors, that would be my answer. There's never been a better time for faculty to get involved in honors and also for students to get involved in honors. Also, I think David brought up the question at the very beginning that you hit as a director when you're trying to grow the program. The biggest part is getting the students involved and convincing them that this is something not only that they're going to enjoy, that they're going to grow from, but that it's not a waste of their time. Because so often students, that's their biggest hurdle, is the time crunch. And it's also something that I think all of us have, and Ron is probably the one who would focus on this more than anybody when we were in honors council meetings. An honors contract or an honors project or whatever is not just more work, it's higher level work. So it's not necessarily that you're just going to double up and write 2 papers instead of 1, or you're going to read 3 books instead of 2. It's the level at which you're approaching the discipline and the level at which you're interacting with other students and with your professor. And I think that students get so much out of it, and the faculty get so much out of it. And when they see not only the effort made by the college, but also scholarships that are available, and the way that that honors designation on their transcript can really help them, particularly when they're transferring to a 4-year institution. We've always, for years, have worked, and I'm sure you're still working with 4-year institutions trying to cross that bridge and get people from our honors program into U of H's honors program or Sam's honors program, and when we can make that bridge easier for students, and when those colleges will accept our honors credits, which it's not easy to talk a 4-year college into accepting honors credit from a community college. There's a lot of bias out there about programs and rigor and stuff like that, and so I think it's a testament to our program that a lot of colleges have agreed to take our credits. But I think that particularly now that we're moving to a system-wide honors college, I think that that's going to be an even better opportunity to forge these relationships with local universities and even statewide universities and I think that would be a great recruiting tool to tell students, you start your honors here, you can finish it at Sam or wherever. So, but I think it's a really important thing to realize that this is our time, and this is a time when system is listening, and they're very motivated to help us. So I think that we should just take advantage of it.
I have a question. What are the scholarship opportunities? Because recently when I was talking to my students, I'm not aware.
Scholarships are very limited at the moment on campus, and ironically we probably have some of the better. We offer 2 $500 scholarships per semester, and then we offer $1,000 scholarship per year that I'd never heard of in all my years in the honors program.
Oh boy.
Until last year when I stepped in as honors director and I got a call from registration. They said, do you have a list of your honors students this semester? It's like, well, yeah, why? And they said, well, because we've got this $1,000 scholarship that we got to give to someone, and it's got to be an honors student. I said, serious? And then to add insult to injury, the name of the scholarship is the William Law Senior Memorial Scholarship. So Bill Law, our first college president, left this endowment that none of us knew about, that was available.
This is once a year, $1,000.
It's a once a year $1,000 scholarship.
And the
So,
others are $500.
and there's per semester. Now, having said that, students, when they're transferring to 4-year universities, and they're asking what's the value of honors.
Yes.
We've had enough honors for just general admissions officers come to campus and speak. We did a transfer workshop last year we hosted here. It was real successful. We had a lot of Tier 1 universities and Tier 2 universities with recruitment experts And they told us that basically taking honors classes would not affect admissions that much. Pause. Everyone, someone looks at. Yes, but the good news is this. What they're really looking at in terms of straight transferability is they're going to be looking at the GPA. But once you get in, then scholarship opportunities certainly can be impacted by your honors experience. So things you're doing in the honors program, if you're looking for money once you're transferred to a four-year institution, it can make a big difference. Or getting into a specific college within a university. So
I think one thing for your college admissions people generally are looking for is that the student is making the most out of the opportunities available. And honors fits that bill, whether it's figuring explicitly in the admissions decision or not. As honors, it nevertheless is enhancing and deepening their education, and they can use that to demonstrate. And people writing recommendation letters can use it to demonstrate that they made use of opportunities, everything that was presented to them. That's the grade level. Someone at Harvard who's not making use of all the opportunities isn't as valuable as someone in another school who is.
Absolutely. So if you take one of our honor students and they have outstanding recommendation letters from faculty that they've worked one-on-one with, if they say they've been involved in peer mentoring program, that they presented at conferences, those kinds of things do stand out, absolutely.
Because I have a question. So a lot of four-year schools, they'll for instance, like accounting, they'll accept that as a transfer class, but they don't care that it has an H.
Right, right.
Because I've had 3 students that were honor students in the years I've been doing this. I was adjunct for, I think, one of them. One kid went to Rice, and the other 2 got into Macomb School of Business.
Awesome.
And I don't know if that had anything to do with it. And of course, I did write the letters, and I made sure I said that not only were they my student, they were an honor student and an honors student. So I may have made that difference, or it couldn't hurt, as well. I got it, but.
Well, you mentioned the Macomb School. What we're seeing, UT, A&M, and some other places is they're turning their honors programs into closed systems. So they're recruiting only freshmen, so they won't accept transfer honors.
Right, right.
So they want to put them through their whole honors program, and to do that, they need them as freshmen taking their litany of classes that they've lined up for honor students.
But I think at least like what Ron's saying is when they're considering them for admission, they're looking at it and they're saying, wow, they didn't just try to get through the community college. They went in and they looked at what good opportunities did they provide, and they did honors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and it's been a constant battle trying to get our honors credits directly accepted as honors at other institutions, and I think we've sometimes missed the boat by focusing too much on that, because the main focus should be on what is the value added of you doing honors here. And there's so many different things that students benefit from that if they don't necessarily matriculate into an honors program at a four-year institution, there's a lot of other benefits they can drive.
I did an honor program. I had a student honor program a few years ago, and it was so bad, in my opinion, that I stayed away. Now, what I'm asking from you is that just give me some word of encouragement, and also to what degree I have to hold the student's hand. And it turned out to be a disaster because I had to also teach the student typesetting for typing the mathematical paper. Now, if that has to be typed, can it be handwritten? Is it to what degree do we have to do it? Well,
let me speak more broadly to the question of is it possible to get students that are not prepared to do honors work that have that 3.25 GPA? Absolutely, it is. And I'm open to suggestions for more rigorous quality control on how to possibly mitigate that. And let me give you some examples. It could be that in a particular discipline you want to discourage students from doing honors contracts in the entry-level courses and focus more on the upper level courses as much as we teach those here, or if it's a sequence course on the second half of the sequence. I'm not recommending this, and it goes beyond the dictates of the honors program, but I know that biology program, Linda Crow was talking about in the past, they had run honor sections where they only allowed students that made A's or B's, hopefully B's too, from their intro bio class 1406 into 1407 honors. But let me also say this. Karen was talking about her honors experience as an undergraduate. I went through the honors college at Texas A&M when I was an undergraduate a few years ago. So I know it's changed considerably since then. But we had to do an undergraduate thesis as well. And I remember I went to Washington, D.C., and I interviewed regulators at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, NRC. I thought I had a hot topic. I worked my butt off on a lot of things that I knew nothing about. And I will never forget, as kind as my honors advisor was, my mentor, when I turned in that final paper, this look of utter disappointment. It's like, we could have published together, but you just let me down. You know, this is not what I was expecting. And you know, a lot of that was probably, it wasn't a great paper. But I also think that, now, I was a junior at that point when I had submitted that paper. And I will admit to not understanding a lot of what I was doing. I certainly didn't understand the whole publisher parish business and you know, some of the key things he was looking for in a research paper that maybe we could have spent more time on. And maybe, you know, to his credit, maybe he talked about it, went in one ear and out the other because it had to be repeated for it to stick. And, you know, a sophomore or whatever when I was working on this project. But the reason I bring up this point is I think we have to be very realistic about the fact that as professors of freshman and sophomore level classes, even if we have students that are inherently bright, that does not necessarily mean that they're inherently equipped to just jump into the foray and do what we might consider to be honors quality work. A lot of them are. And so I think this speaks to honors classes and an honors program in spades as opposed to honors contracts, because what you want is you want some common benchmarks that students go through, and importantly what you want is you want a cadre of peers. So you want a community of students that are going through this process together, that feed off each other, that learn from each other, and we're missing that in doing this contract-based honors program. Mm-hmm. So I fully agree with you, and believe me, as an honors director, the worst of all possible scenarios is to have a contract-based honors program. Why? Because it's like managing 50 different classes, right? Individual classes, all on different topics. Everything from the approval phase to the tracking phase to the end phase. It's just an administrative nightmare. And would it be a lot easier if we had like 7 or 8 honors classes? Absolutely. In the past, the fear or the downside to that has been multifaceted. It's been enrollment. Now, admittedly, probably the last time we tried that on a large scale, our enrollment was significantly less than it is now. So I think we have reached a critical mass where we could build those. But even in top-notch programs around the country, what we see is that in order to have a robust honors program at a community college, you have to fully fund your students, or you have to significantly fund your students. In other words, it has to be something that attracts the best of the best, right? Because if you don't have that, you're going to be chasing so many radicals. And that's what we're fighting on right now, and that's what I think we're seeing some daylight at the system level, because we're talking about a big chunk of money. System-wide, you know, we're probably talking in scholarships, well over $500,000 and closer to $1 million. You compare that to $20,000 that we're putting now into scholarships. Now you might say, oh my gosh, where's that money going to come from? Or more importantly, you know, why would you want to spend that kind of money? If you spread that, if you think 400 students that are the best of the best, that you're recruiting, that you're feeding into the university system, that are going to be the movers and shakers of tomorrow, that are going to stimulate creative thought on campus, that are going to get the dialogue going, that are going to give people a fire for their discipline again, you know, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. But it requires a monumental shift from what we have now. So, we'll see.
I know, and this is to you, Ron, sorry. I know that it used to be in the second English comp class that they taught the research paper. Do we still do that? There's
No,
been a
it's more
shift, yeah.
than that. I mean, the research paper is introduced in a modified form in the first course,
Yeah.
and then becomes more full-blown in the second course. But that's all changing too. I mean, the second English course, it looks like, is now not going to be in the core. So
I disagree with that,
I do too.
but let's just say
that's
it's still being, yeah.
the question I had was at Miami Dade or other places, do they have a course where all the honor students or would-be honor students, as the case may be, the course that they all take, like at U of H, they have the human situation. Can you do something like that on the community college level? I don't know why not. And then after that human situation course at U of H, then it becomes a pure contract system. But you have more of a cadre of students who understand the lay of the land at that point.
No, I think you need those common course experiences. You know, when it's been a campus by campus thing, there's been this huge reluctance to require a course that may not be transferable, talking about the core, right? But for that common honors experience, and particularly if you're funding those students, see, the great thing about funding students is that then you can have certain expectations of students. And you have an intense motivator for them to be successful in that program. Because you can use that funding in all kinds of ways to get the most bang for the buck in terms of motivating those students to complete courses successfully.
So is that an option you all are looking into?
Absolutely, and I think most honors colleges, if not all, are going to have both those required, and it can be on different things. You know, it could be a 1 credit hour course, 2 credit hour course during the first year.
Well, something to consider would be, let's say, take 3 or 4 courses that all first-year students have to take. English 1301, maybe, I don't know where philosophy fits in the core now, but the philosophy course, a history course, a math course, a science course, whatever, and form an honors learning community of those courses.
Yeah,
New courses are not being introduced, it's just jacking up the already existing courses. And they got to take them anyway.
You're right. The complexity that arises, though, is increasingly our top students are coming into the community college already having taken those classes. So it's not that you can't offer those, but you've got these different student populations that we're trying to recruit out of high school that, yeah, we found that out with our learning community. So we had a learning community honors English 1302 and government 2305. Well, 1302 is a sequence, so you have to have had 1301. A good number of freshmen coming in that have taken 1301 have taken 1302 as well.
Oh, wow.
And it became, luckily I had someone great at Worry that was able to tease all this data and find people that had one and not the other, and we cold called 180 students. We had our division coordinators, God bless them, do that so that we could recruit 17 students for an honors learning community. So it was an intensely difficult process just to get that off the ground. Now, the other piece to that, I had I had iPads. It's an iPad-centric, it's funded through a Chancellor's Technology Grant. So it was a combination of having the right people to contact and then having that little carrot to dangle out when we contacted them. Because otherwise, if we say, we have these 2 classes that are linked, that are the same classes that either you need or you're currently enrolled in, would you mind switching into these classes? They'd say, why?
Yeah.
So we say, well, did we tell you you get an iPad? And they go, really? Tell me more. And that's the same thing that you can do with those scholarships, right? You can say, we want you to take the sequence of courses. Really?
And do you think they have to be fully funded? You said fully funded. You know, what if you give them half tuition?
I think there's all kinds of variations on that thing.
Even half.
What I'm saying is it has to be significant.
That's what I'm asking.
That was my next, what I was going to ask you is how do we sell it? I've sent you a few students that are preferred, none of them.
Thank you.
How do we sell it as advisors or counselors to the students to get them, you know, encourage them to go into the honors? Because the other thing is transferability. Don't we have like transfer contracts or agreements with,
We
like,
do.
for example, SAM?
We
Didn't
do.
we do that with the honors courses?
We have transfer agreement with SAM.
At
the honors level. And we have a transfer agreement with Stephen F. Austin. We have a transfer agreement with University of Texas, Dallas.
So I'd like to.
And in all three of those, it's 12 credit hours honors, go straight into their honors programs. We do not have one with U of H, despite continued efforts. But you're absolutely right. And one thing I tried to do starting last spring was contact all of the advisors, the counselors, and hand out, I had a top 10 reasons to participate in honors, and then I went through the Extended Learning Center and met with all of the advisors during registration, handed out 1 million of these pamphlets. They were like a half sheet, you know, cheat sheet on why you should join honors and the requirements for joining honors.
You gave me something like that I've been using.
Good.
But you're right, when you talk to the students, it's hard. It's a hard sell because they say, well, what's in it for me? It's extra work, right?
Well,
blah, blah, blah. But I tell them, look at the big picture, you know?
Yeah, and part of the big picture that's an easier sell is, I think more and more students are realizing, because they're seeing a lot of their friends that have 4-year degrees and then they can't get a job, right? It's like just being in school isn't enough. One, you want to pay as little as possible while you're in school so you're not in debt. And two, you want to have a job when you get out. And so if you're doing things to maximize your potential for getting gainful employment.
So that's why the funding will make a difference, because then you're also offering them to save money, you know, and doing this, not spending as much.
Well, I'd like to speak to this issue of selling too. Just in my courses, the first day or two, I do a sales pitch for the course. I mean, most of these students have no idea what philosophy is. They think they have an idea, they may view it as something scary or, you know, over their head or something like that. So, you know, I try to enthusiastically say, you know, this could be good stuff, this could be interesting stuff. I think I convince some of them, probably don't convince others. But I do have students, and I think there are students who become interested in an honors course because that first week, they say, oh, this is pretty good stuff, I didn't realize that. And they may think, oh, I like him pretty well, I'd like to do an honors contract with him. So it's one thing you're making available an honors program to highly motivated, high ability people who are coming in from high school. That's great. But a lot of people, they're not going to be able to know until they see what this course is about and who the instructor is. And, you know, it's just a wild thought, it may be completely harebrained, but if one possibility is that we have these late start classes, is if, you know, students who have started out in the course and decided that they wanted to do an honors program, if you could have like a late start philosophy honors class. Because one of the best students I've ever had 2 semesters ago was a non-traditional student. She was a grandmother. She was coming back to school for the first time in 20 years. She wasn't even sure that she could handle community college, much less a philosophy course. Well, she's brilliant, she's smart, she's hardworking. She arrived the first week, she liked me, I guess. She liked the course, she wanted to do an honors project, she did a bang-up job. But I'm not sure this other would necessarily reach people like that.
Well, and go ahead.
Well, I just wondered if I could follow through on this, and I suspect most people, this is a really obvious, I'm probably the only person who doesn't know. I'm not clear how you actually recruit honors students. If we have a bright student who we realise 50% through the course, this person's brilliant, do we then try and recruit them and convert them that course into an honors contract at that point?
You can't do it that way.
You can't?
You can do retroactive.
But you can do a retroactive.
You can do it in the next semester.
So what you can do, Hannah, is you could, the subsequent semester, you could, if you connected with that student, you could say if you wanted to earn honors credit, you could, I would be interested in doing a retroactive contract with you, is what they call it. And that would be the following semester, they would do a project with you for that class. Or if they're in sequence, if you have them in 2305, say, you know what, if you're in my class next semester and you're interested in doing an honors project, I'd be interested in working on it with you.
It happened to me just this afternoon. One of my students, this far into the semester, I think she's got a boyfriend that I'm doing an honors contract with. Started asking about honors, you know, and I said, well, it explained to her the retroactive. Of course, you could do it in another course that you take in the spring if you choose, but if you make an A and you'd like to do it with me, we could do a retroactive course.
They have to have had your course, or have to have a course, but they can take it, like they don't have to be in your class now.
But to get these students, we then recruit them. So the point is that these people aren't a cohort that sort of are a recognised entity. The point is, if we find good students, we should say, do you want to do honors?
Yes.
Are you an honors student? Do you want to do it? that's the way the recruitment process works, is that right?
That's a hugely important component.
Okay.
We, in the past, have sent out roughly 3,500 postcards a semester
Right.
to students
Okay.
that meet a certain GPA requirement saying, congratulations, you're eligible to participate in the honors program. And out of that, we get about 100 students that show up at an information session. And then out of that, we get 40 students that do contracts.
So how do we recruit them at the beginning when they don't have a GPA, just on the high school GPA?
Well, what we do there is that we have to look at their high school transcripts.
Okay.
So if they have, there's certain criteria, like if they were in the top, it's actually 25% of their class. If they had a high school GPA of X, or if they had a certain college entrance score, and it could be on their SAT, ACT, Compass. I'll get you that sheet, and it has all the different criteria that incoming freshmen, homeschool students, or transfer students.
They look at their test scores and stuff.
And maybe I should, but I actually don't recruit students like that. Maybe I should. I have in my syllabus that you can take this class for honors credit. When I'm going through the syllabus, I explain that we have an honors program. Say if you're give generalities, but if you're a good student and you think you might be interested in receiving honors credit for this course, come and talk with me. I've got the contact information for David in there. But I have great students that evidence no interest in the honors program. I have not done that kind of active recruiting. Now, if we were to go to something more like the honors college or honors classes, I probably would do that in terms of having these classes. But I'm not presently doing that. Maybe I should be.
And don't listen, David, but I have turned down students that I felt were not good students.
And you should have that right to do that. I will say in addition to that, that if you have students that you're just uncertain with, I would be glad to sit down and talk with you and not try to discourage them, but maybe go over, a lot of the requirements, and then you can see how serious they are, right? Or help sometimes, especially first-time faculty, they may not really have an idea what to do in terms of, what an honors contract would look like, or how intense it needs to be. And I'm more than happy to sit down and talk about it.
David, have you worked with new student orientation as far as the
We had both our HSO president as well as faculty go in, and the problem with that is that on one occasion when we had one faculty went in to plug honors, they said that these students had been in, it was so many hours of information sessions already, they were brain dead. So they couldn't
information overload after a while.
And we found that the later in the summer we were recruiting from those, maybe the lower the caliber of the overall student, they were more the very last minute they're deciding to take classes. I was on their lunch break. I would go in building A, and I went table to table pressing the flesh and handing out cards and flyers and myself as the honors director. So,
I didn't know that for that avenue, but you're absolutely right. It does get to be information overload when because they change that format to be all day, just about. I don't know if they're going to keep it that way or not, but I mean, there may be some other opportunities to get creative with it.
I agree. Well, yeah, and I'm open to suggestions. And I do want to speak to Mark's point as well, because talking about this honors college may make it sound like we're coming up with this closed system, only incoming freshmen can participate. And models that we're looking at of successful honors colleges usually have what we call multiple tracks. So there may be that track where you have a learning community that comes in as a class and they go through the honors college together. But you want to retain that ability, I would think, for students to take, to maybe sit in on an honors class that are qualified to, but that don't want to go through the whole honors college thing. They may not be eligible for the scholarships depending on how you set it up, but they could still earn honors credit for participating in that class. Or you may not want to preclude the ability to still do honors contracts, even though you shift more toward an honors class framework.
So could someone start honors college after being here a semester? Is a question I have. Like they don't have to do it for all 4 semesters.
Yeah, I mean, again, those are things that I think the honors task force has to kind of sift through and coming up with a model for. At some point, it becomes problematic, though, right? Because you want them to have a common first-year experience, and if they come in midstream, that becomes more difficult to give. That doesn't mean that you might not be able to track students differently, like I said. But yeah, for that one track, probably one of their first semester.
So many don't traditionally just come in and then do the 4 semesters. So
Well, you're right. You're right, and yeah, and I wouldn't want to preclude those students from doing honors work.
Yeah, we'd have to still have the contracts. I mean, you'd have to, for people that didn't do that traditionally.
Well, or again, I think they could still take the classes. It would help with the enrollment in the classes, right? They just would not be on that track for that honors college graduation. And maybe you could still have a separate designation of some kind of, you know, that they took so many honors credit hours, but they're not an honors college graduate. The great thing is we can do what we want, and at the end of the day, it's really not about anyone else. It's about what's best for the student, you know, how most benefits the student.
So would this honors college idea be centrally located somewhere?
Well, what has been, you know, nothing's been decided. It's just at the beginning phases. I can tell you there hasn't been support for an honors college at a building because we are a 6-campus system that's spread over a huge geographic area. And we already have, to varying degrees, developed honors programs on each of those campuses. But the challenge is bringing all those under some kind of uniform structure that provides consistency and a certain quality standard for all students both entering and exiting from the program, but allows each campus to retain its own unique character. How's that for chop the baby down the middle and, you know, you can.
And that's also, honors college is a strategy for soliciting funds.
Yeah.
That's the way it's worked, I think, even on the university level. You know, if you have an honors college, there are people who are willing to contribute because they understand more. Oh, you have an honors college, you know. They may not realize there's no faculty.
Well,
that doesn't matter.
yeah.
Okay, but you know, there are people who will contribute. But if you have a building, you know, that someone can contribute to, they might be more willing than a program, than a department. Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
And another thing that's come up in discussions, and again, nothing's been set in stone, but we pretty much bank that all this stuff, no matter where that honors college, how it's located in the campuses, will be where students are. In other words, I can't envision something at system office, you know, in an ivory tower where that's the honors college and it's pristine, it's a pretty building with a name on it, but there's no students.
No students.
Well, thank you very much, all of